patrol, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio. Good evening and welcome to Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in at spacedoutradio.com and on the Spreaker Radio Network. May the 4th be with you, Star Wars fans. As we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Wednesday night, early Thursday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. Yeah, we're busy bees around here. We want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, ufological, extraterrestrial, paranormal, and so much more. Spaced Out Radio's rocking theme music is provided by guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL. You can find his new album, Little Brother is Watching, by going to spacedoutradio.com. If you're on social media, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we welcome in our fans listening in on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans at Paranormal Forum, and on Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers and UFO Chronicles. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, coming soon to our website is the Space Travelers membership. We're only $5 a month. Yeah, just $5. You can win prizes, take part in private group interviews, a special section on our website, and much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The new Agora newspaper, the official paper of Spaced Out Radio. And, of course, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio is the iPhone app, Spirit Storybox. When people think of UFOs and extraterrestrial contact, everyone usually points the fingers at the United States, because that's really where most of the most publicized crashes and stories have come from. But tonight, we're looking to the Great White North. Yes, it's not all boring maple syrup and hockey here in Canada. What's flying in our friendly skies? Before we get any further, though, I do want to say something, and this is on a serious note. If you've never heard of Fort McMurray, Alberta, where Canada's biggest oil reserves are, the town is in a state of emergency. If you haven't seen it on the news, it's actually quite horrible what's going on. Over 60,000 people have so far been evacuated, as the town is literally under siege from an uncontained forest fire that literally has Fort Mac surrounded. Luckily, no one has died yet, but people are losing everything. So, do me a favor, Space Out Radio fans, space travelers. If you have an extra nickel, contact your local Red Cross to see how you can donate to help the cause. These are good people, hardworking people who are going through a very tough time, and let's send them the prayers that they need to get that fire out. Now, Back to tonight's show. From Canada's Roswell, which happened in Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia in 1967, to over 116 recorded sightings in 2013 in Vancouver, British Columbia alone, Canada has been a hotbed for UFO sightings as people continue to see strange lights in the sky. What are they seeing? Where are they from? And what exactly are they? Ryan Stacey is an investigator with MUFON Canada and Blacklight ISS, which is from Toronto. He investigates cases where UFOs and odd paranormal activity are in play, as well as missing persons. He's going to open up the books on what he knows about UFOs in Canada. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us tonight. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's good to always talk, being a Canadian show. And I know most of our listeners are in the United States, but there's not a lot of real UFO talk that goes across this country. And do you think that is a little bit ridiculous considering how many people across Canada from coast to coast to coast are actually having sightings of weird lights up in the sky?
Yeah, no, it's definitely bizarre. Like, I think us Canadians get the short end of the stick. I was actually surprised that MUFON has a Canadian branch. When I originally wanted to sign up, I thought I was going to be working, for the States from Canada, but we actually have a pretty solid group in Canada, which is great. Before
we get too heavily into the UFOs, what brought you to this field of interest? Was it just the fact that you had a keen interest? Was it a sighting or maybe something anomalous that happened?
I've always been a big fan of X-Files growing up. And then, I don't know, I've always had a curious mind. Like, I'm skeptic myself, but I do believe there's something out there, so I'm pretty curious. I'm pretty good at solving puzzles and mysteries and stuff, and this just seems to be very challenging. Like, it's going to be a puzzle that'll never be solved, or I'm hoping that will, just keeping me busy. Like, everything changes, everything is new kind of type deal.
Mm-hmm. When you decided to get into this field, what was the reaction of the people around you? Because the one thing that I've said this on this show, the one thing about Canadian people, we always downplay everything. Where we're like, oh, really, Ryan, you believe in that stuff? Are you serious? You're wasting time on it. But Ryan, there was this one time when I saw something I couldn't explain. Have you got a lot of that?
Yeah, I do. I've gotten a few people always talking about the lights and stuff, and there's a lot of common stuff. It's pretty busy.
When people started noticing and you started talking a little bit more that this was an interest to you, Ryan, that you wanted to get into this field, did you take a lot of harassment? Or was it something where people were quite supportive of you?
Well, it's hit or miss. I just kind of didn't really tell anybody about it. Like, I mean, I told my family. I say, hey, Dad, remember, the MUFON stuff on TV, the big guys, the TV shows, Hangar One and all this other stuff. So I'm naming all this American stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, that stuff. I was like, well, I'm one of those investigators. He's like, oh, really? So he's like, he doesn't believe me. And then, like, I show him some of the stuff that I've been doing. And then it's just kind of like, oh, it's kind of all weird. But, I mean, on the end of the day, my fiance, Priscilla, she's one of my big supporters. She embraces the nerd in me. I try not to. I'm pretty modest about all this stuff too, but I do have some following on Facebook. Some people are supportive. It's just kind of hit or miss. But I'm not really doing it for the support as well. I do it because I enjoy it, because I'm interested in it, and it's kind of, I'm self-propelled, self-driven in my quest for greater knowledge and finding answers. So it's nice to be part of a community like everyone who's listening tonight. It's just kind of my first time in a situation like this too, so I'm not used to having the popularity, you know what I mean? I'm kind of usually kept to myself.
I know the feeling about what it was like, but because I think as a boy growing up in Canada or a boy growing up anywhere, you look to your father as an idol and you look to his support with anything. I know when I came out and it sounds so bad when you say that, when I came out, you know what I'm saying? But when I started discussing with my father about the radio show, about the sightings and everything that I had saw, you know, over my time over the last 4 years, I was really nervous about it, but it was something that weighed me down. I had to get it off my chest that, Dad, I'm seeing UFOs, I've seen Bigfoot, I've seen extraterrestrials, and this is what happened. Yeah. And I remember he was sitting on my lazy boy, stole my chair, the old bastard, but he was sitting on my lazy boy, and he kind of looks dead at me, and he kind of wiped his face, took a big sigh, and he goes, you know what, I'm 65 years old, I've never seen anything weird in my life. He goes, I believe you, and I wish I could see something like that before I die.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, my dad, he believes in it too. He's just my dad's just a stubborn little guy. But I've yet to see anything myself either. Like, I've seen some things that are questionable, but I mean, as I'm pretty stubborn when it comes to proving the facts about it. But it's only because I really, really want to find that piece of evidence that nobody can argue. You know, like you could myself, I can come up with a million answers why something didn't happen. But if we could, you know, I don't know.
And do you think it's important to have that support in what you're doing?
Some support, yes. Like all the support I really need, I get from my fiance Priscilla. So that keeps me going. But like I said, I don't do it for the support. I just do it because I enjoy it, and it's something I'm pretty passionate about.
Mm-hmm. You've also got to meet some pretty interesting people, too, and you have got to see some pretty cool things. Is there anything, when you say that piece of evidence that you're looking for, that one piece of evidence that you want, is there anything specific in mind which you have with that piece of evidence?
No, nothing really. Just something I can hold on to, I guess, you know, something tangible, something, you know, even if I see something, you know, that's a belief for me, but I don't know, it'd be neat to have something to hold in your hand.
Mm-hmm. See, I would like to see someone of substance, maybe another Paul Hellyer, or someone along those lines here in Canada, or maybe even in the United States. I don't know how well it would go over there with everything being so secretive, but I would love in North America here to have another Canadian representative start having some type of experience where they can say, look, this is going on across the country, this is something that we need to address, much like what John Podesta is trying to do with Hillary Clinton down in the United States. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, I think, it's hit or miss, too. Like, I mean, there's reasons why they don't tell us some stuff. You know, they don't want us to panic. They don't want us to freak out. You know, maybe there's something going on out there that we're just not ready to know. Maybe it's not just a big, huge conspiracy like everyone thinks, right? Or it is on the other side of the spectrum where, you know, they have reverse engineered the technology and they are using it in war, and it's trade secrets and all that other stuff. We really don't know. But at the end of the day, it would be nice to know one way or another, right? Rather than we have all these guesses, the skepticism, these conspiracies. Like JFK was heavy on talking about secret societies, and he even came forward and said, you know, we do have these things in place, and there's reasons why we're not telling you is because we don't want you to panic. We don't want you to worry. You know, you don't need to worry. You know, so it's, I don't know. Like, I mean, half the civilization could handle it, and I think the other half couldn't. So we need a balance, you know?
Mm-hmm. I really think that we do need a balance in it. And I believe that there's a lot more people starting to truly believe that there's something else going on out there, as we see more people in North America really moving from organized religion to finding their own spirituality to what suits them best and their own personal beliefs, which I don't think is a bad thing in the long run. Not that I'm saying religion is bad, and yeah, there might be people out there who say, you know what, we can't handle any religious talk or anything like that. But I think as people go on and start to find their own place, when they look up to the skies and they see strange lights circling around or zigzagging in the sky or strobing their lights, is it to the point where we have to start taking those stories more at face value than just brushing them off to the side as, oh, you're seeing space dust or you saw a meteor, and trying to make up any excuse because we don't want to deal with it?
Well, that's the thing, too. It's just there was a time where it happened once in a blue moon, and everyone, they could just hush it up and hide it. But now it's happening so often that it's easy to brush off because it's almost like an everyday occurrence. It's or conditioning, really. Like, it's just happening so often that people aren't blowing up about it like they used to, and that might make people forget about it, or it might, I don't know, like, it's a lot of unanswered questions there. Mm-hmm. And we don't even know. That's believing that it's extraterrestrial. For all we know, it could even be government. Like, all these UFOs just means unidentified. I mean, that's very quite possible that what we're seeing has been reverse engineered, or wasn't even reverse engineered. It's just our own technology, and we had so many questions, very little answers.
We are talking with Ryan Stacey tonight on Spaced Out Radio. BlacklightISS.com is his website. He's also a part of MUFON Canada. You mentioned earlier, Ryan, that you were surprised that MUFON actually had an office up in Canada. How did you get involved with MUFON?
Well, I applied to the website. I wanted to be a field investigator, so I had to pass a criminal record check, a background check, and then I had to do some intensive training, which was kind of it was a refresher for me because I have my police foundations college degree, and I'm a private investigator as well. So it was kind of the investigative side of things was a refresher course, but it was interesting when we got into, fluorescence and crop circles and stuff. So there's a lot of like new information I got for. So basically, after I did all the testing, all the reading, which was like this 300-page pamphlet of lots of useful information, then you write a test, and I had to get 80% or higher in order to pass. So I passed that, and then they sent me my license in my mail. And then since then, I've had correspondence with Stu Bundy, who's the Ontario Provincial Director, I believe is his correct title name. Great guy, and it's just been great ever since. Like, I've been helping out, talking to everybody, meeting lots of interesting people, and it started out small. I think there's only 8 of us in Ontario alone, but I think I'm going to guess ballpark maybe 30 overall. Maybe that might be too low for the investigators in Canada overall, which is surprising for me because I thought, based on the media, right, that it was completely American, and right. I still had the interest nonetheless. But it's also nice to have something closer to home. It's also weird too because you hear all these.
You went a little hollow on us.
Oh, my battery died. Hold on.
All right.
Did it to me last. All right. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now. There we go.
Okay, no, I just got to plug it back in.
There you go. Were you surprised then that MUFON had such interaction in Canada? Because everybody thinks of MUFON as being an American UFOlogy study or course load or caseload workers or something along that line. So how long have you been in MUFON then, and how long has it been in Canada?
I'm not actually sure how long it's been in Canada. I think it started in the 1968 or something in the States, I believe. I actually do not know. I didn't spend much time looking into the history of it. I just knew I wanted to do it. It's something I probably should do. But what I do know is MUFON is a nonprofit organization that focuses on the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. What we do is we investigate UFO sightings and collect the data. We store it in our database, which we can give to researchers worldwide. They can come in, just go to www.mufoncms.com, and you can have access to all the information that's available to the public. We have some people that write in and they want to be anonymous, so there's some information that's hidden there. But basically, we promote and research, on UFOs to discover the true nature of this phenomenon, and we hope to educate the public on its impact of society. And Canada is just MUFON Canada is just a branch of that under the the umbrella of MUFON, and it's great.
Hey, when you look at all the investigations that you do, how many do you think are slipping through your fingers because people are either too embarrassed to report it, they want to forget what they've seen or had happen to them? What do you think that statistic is, just off the top of your head?
Yeah, I think I've got maybe out of say 10, out of 10, 2 of them would not get back to me. A lot of people are eager to talk to you and tell you more information. And a lot of them just want to share their story. They don't care whether you believe them or not. They just want somebody else on the other end to understand that what they're seeing happened, right? They want to validate that they're not seeing things. I've been in some situations where I was led to believe that one case was a hot air balloon, but no matter what evidence I used to suggest it, the witness or the client there believes, that it was extraterrestrial and it wasn't a hot air balloon. So, I mean, even at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think. It's what they think, too. And I think validation is the most important thing for them.
How much do you have to remain skeptical, though? Because there's always somebody looking to get into the news. There's always somebody looking for that 15 minutes of fame. But then there's the people who are so petrified or so nervous about reporting anything that they don't even want to give you their name. They want to remain anonymous.
Well, yeah, you got to look at it as the information. So they tell you the information. If they want to be anonymous, we still get a first name and we still get an email address, so we can still try to communicate with them. Sometimes they'll communicate back with you and they'll give you more information, but then, I don't know. I haven't come across anybody who's fishing for exposure yet, that I know of anyways, and usually it's just collecting information and then I put the pieces together and then I make my observation and that's that. But there's other mediums they could use if they want to be famous or something.
When you look at it, do you think it's like maybe 1 in 10 that are being reported, 1 in 20, 1 in 100?
That are fake, you mean? Like hoax?
No, that are actually being reported as are true, or sightings in general. Like if you took the population of Toronto and you cut that pie down to a realistic statistic of people who are having sightings and people who are actually reporting them.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I think maybe 10% of the people who are seeing things are reporting them because they're unaware of how to get to MUFON. Like if I was unaware of MUFON having a Canadian branch, then they may be unaware of how to actually get to MUFON at all. So, I mean, you go www.mufon.com. It stands for the Mutual UFO Network. That'll give you all the information you need. There's a reporting system on there. Even if it was from many, many years ago, it's good to have information. I myself, when I get historical ones, I still plot it on Google Earth. I keep track of all the sightings, so every sighting I get next, I look at the parallels. I compare them to the other ones. So I'm still trying to figure out what a norm is for the extraterrestrial world. It's just not one thing just to look up into the sky, but it's also trying to figure out, what is a hot air balloon? What does a hot air balloon look like at night? What does an aircraft look at night? There's a whole bunch of things.
There's a lot of skepticism with MUFON itself. There's many people, and there's Eric in our chat room right now who was a part of MUFON back in the 90s, who said back then it seemed more like a debunking group than a fact-finding group, and that reputation still seems to stick with MUFON. Is that reputation true on this side of the border?
I think that comes down to the individual. Overall, it depends. The way I investigate may be different than the way he would investigate, or anyone else for that matter. And I try to look at mine, even with this hot air balloon one as an example, I'm 99.8% sure it was a hot air balloon, but I wasn't there. I didn't see it. So I have to say it was an unknown. And leaving it unknown, rather, as much as I want to debunk it, I don't really need to kind of type deal. It's up for interpretation. So, I mean, I say that I'm skeptical, but I do give myself that reasonable error for doubt, and I do believe in some things. I'm starting to be more lenient or less stubborn and more open-minded as things go through. But again, I think it comes down to the individual and how open-minded they really are.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, we're going to hop out for our first break of the night. We are talking with Ryan Stacey. He is a member of MUFON Canada, and BlacklightISS.com is his website. He's also a private investigator. We're going to hit a ton of topics with Ryan tonight on Spaced Out Radio. When we come back, we're going to find out more about MUFON and get to your questions right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is Elizabeth Anglin, and on the last Monday of every month, I join Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's Cosmic Passport. We delve into everything from extraterrestrial contact to animal communication. It's a lot of fun, and every month it's something different and exciting. I would love it if you would join us. You can hear and learn from my experiences, and I'd like to know about yours as well. Cosmic Passport on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit. And expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much if you're tuning in on the SHR Media Network. If you're in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Forum, UFOria Chronicles, or the SOR Space Travelers, we got a packed house in there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey, we do this during special occasions, and most of the time they're not very good. All our listeners, I want you to send out some prayers. Let's send some love, some light out to those in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. It's in northern Alberta. The town is literally surrounded by forest fires. The town is burning, literally. It is like Armageddon up there right now. Nobody has died, thankfully, but over 60,000 people have been evacuated. So if you could send your thoughts and prayers on getting that fire under control, and to the emergency crews that are working 24 hours a day right now to battle this blaze, we'd really appreciate the help. And if you got an extra nickel, call up or hook up online with the Canadian Red Cross, and they will be able to help you out. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we store our archives, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with MUFON Canada investigator Ryan Stacey. His website is blacklightiss.com. We're talking about UFOs over Canada. We're kind of the forgotten nation up here when it comes to sightings because so much focus is on what is happening in the United States. So it's very interesting to get a Canadian perspective of the field of ufology, which is what Ryan does. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
You're welcome.
I want to start off with some questions from our audience, and they love the audience participation, so that's why we get them involved. This show is really about them. I'm going to start with Corey here on the Space Out Radio chat room. She is asking, she's sure that most people have sightings and don't report them. Are there any statistical numbers that MUFON may have when it comes to true sightings that have been reported in Canada, say in 2015?
Nah, not that I know of. I'm sure I could find it, though. I'm going to write that down. I don't know if they have a list of the ones that they're... You mean the ones that they're supposed to be getting?
Well, how many cases did MUFON investigate in Canada?
I know for this month, off the top of my head, that Canada's done 49 sightings have been reported to the MUFON, and I believe overall for the month, I think it was close to 600 overall for Canada this month. I can't remember. I get a report every month, and it tells us, it breaks it down to the countries, to the provinces and all that, where the most sightings are.
Do you have to investigate each and every one of those sightings, or do you pick the better ones?
I don't get a choice in the matter. They get sent from head office in the States there to our national directors, and then they look at them, and then they send them out to our investigators throughout your province. So hopefully they try to put it to the close proximity in case we happen to go and visit the site. So they kind of get outsourced that way, and I average maybe two at the most a month, depending on how fast I can clear them up. We're heading into the busier season because of the lovely weather. Everyone's outside, so more eyes are in the sky. And usually I've been told the reports are higher in the summer months because of this.
Corey's second question for you is, should we all who have sightings be reporting them?
I'd say yeah, because the more data we have, the bigger our case will be. Like, I can only speak from my own experience. Like, I think every case I do, like I said, I'll map it out, and I'll compare each case to the last case to find similarities. So if everyone reports anything, even if it's the smallest little thing, if it matches up with something else that somebody else had investigated, then that helps. Because I can also go into that system and I can search for keywords to find parallels or find comparisons. And that helps too, because then I can look at the other investigators' notes and I can see what conclusions they had come to and the reasons behind it, and that can help me come to my own conclusions or solve some questions that I might have. So yes, definitely, if you are able to report it, do it.
Now, you mentioned, Ryan, that you have never personally seen a UFO. Do you go outside at night and just stare up at the sky and see if there's anything out there? Or are you just way too busy with these cases where you just don't have time?
Well, I used to stargaze a lot. I mean, I do like looking out at the sky when I can, when I am out there. I have been recently really busy where my head's been, buried in my desk, looking at what's on the ground versus what's up in the sky. But yeah, when I can, I do look up. I mean, I haven't seen anything weird myself other than that I haven't been able to explain. I'm still hoping. That's why I do it. I don't do it to debunk. I'm doing it to be one of those people. And even if I don't believe, there's, like I said, on average 600 reports in Canada alone of people seeing stuff. And there's stuff out there for sure.
Are you a believer that they exist?
Oh yeah, I do believe in a higher power. I'm not naive to think that we're the smartest people on the only rock in this universe. There's many, many, many stars out there. There's many, many planets out there that can hold and sustain life. So, I definitely believe it's possible.
When you're having these reports come in, and you get everything from crop circles to UFO sightings to ET abductions, do you get a lot of people who report other anomalies like government agencies all of a sudden showing up, or black helicopters, as we've heard so many times before?
I haven't personally gotten anything weird like that. That would be interesting. But no, unfortunately, I have not been that lucky.
Eric in the SOR Space Travelers room is asking, has there been any, that you know of, recorded cases of men in black here in Canada?
That I know of, I heard of an incident of them at, I believe, the Sheridan Hotel in Niagara Falls, I believe. It's been showcased on YouTube, and I think I've seen it on, I forget what the name of the show is, but I've seen them reference it, and then the story was that I think it was two men dressed in black had entered the hotel, and after a supposed UFO sighting, and their faces were blurred, or they looked kind of reptilian, is what they claimed. And there is video footage of it. It is on YouTube. I'll see. I can't find a link right now, but if you search Men in Black Niagara Falls, I'm pretty sure it'll come up. Actually, I'll try and search it right now. Niagara.
I know the video you were talking about.
You know what I'm talking about, yeah.
Where the two men in black, it's a summer day, they're all dressed in black, they're wearing the black fedoras, yet their faces look a very pale white. Do you think then, and I'm only going by your estimation here because you're getting into the field of ufology with MUFON, do you feel then that there is maybe something sinister along those lines, like the men in black or the black helicopters that we hear of, when people are getting a little bit too close to information or something along those lines? I know that's more conspiratorial than MUFON likes to get, but what is your own personal view on that?
Well, I believe it's possible. You got to understand, what are we viewing? Like I said before, first of all, we need to establish whether it's actually extraterrestrial. If it's extraterrestrial, are we aware of it? If we're not aware of it, then, we know just as much as the government does. If it's man-made, then, it could be military craft and people are reporting stuff, and they may be just people trying to keep us quiet. Maybe they made mistakes, cover up their tracks. You need something like that, but at the same time, these people shouldn't be making mistakes. Like, what are they covering up? It's just, I think, or it could be a distraction as well. You never even know. But the idea of having people coming to investigate with no identity whatsoever is creepy nonetheless, but it's definitely a scare tactic to stop people from talking. And my question to that would be, you know, what exactly are we observing that they want to scare us into staying quiet? And it could be either government or extraterrestrial, who knows? But it's definitely something that works.
Mm-hmm. Canada seems to have a very lax reputation when it comes to technology. We kind of let everybody else in the world take care of that, and we kind of feed it into the country as we're more of an import country when it comes to technology. Do you think the Canadian government is hiding anything, much like what is believed in the United States?
Well, I believe it's possible. Like, I mean, that's another reason why I reached out to MUFON in America, is because, like, I just thought Canada was boring, you know? Like, it's actually and interesting to know that we are also experiencing, you know, UFOs. And I'm learning through my investigation that there are underground military bases here. There's actually a NORAD base up near Thunder Bay, I believe. I just did an investigation last month, and I noticed that there was an underground base up there near one of the sightings. It's now a museum now. I forget the name of it. Sorry. But, you know, it's interesting to find out that Canada actually once was just, you know, full of secrets just as everyone else. We just don't talk about it. And I don't know if that's because we're so consumed with what's happening in America. And like, I mean, even in high school, I can remember learning politics, and everything we learned about was American. And then you have that test about Canada, and then you're stumping it. But if you get any questions about the first president of the United States, everybody knew it. And I don't know if that's just because Canada wasn't as important in the educational system, or maybe Canada is actually playing a large part in this, and we're using that to our advantage. You know, they think that we're quiet and they'll leave us alone, but maybe there's something bigger.
Joe has an interesting question in the SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook, which is free to join if you want to listen in. He is asking, MUFON is a great organization and it has a lot of wonderful people in it. But there's also the chance that because they become so popular, that government officials or people on the black side of the government may have infiltrated it to kind of change the momentum of MUFON. Have you heard those rumors, and what do you believe in them?
Well, I don't know. That's into conspiracies again, but I mean, I haven't encountered anything. We had an issue in the past with an opposing group that was, I'm trying to speak lightly here, taking information from us and using it to benefit their own for profit. But other than that, we haven't really had much infiltration that I know of. But no, that's a tough question.
Joseph in New York wants to know what the strangest case you've ever worked on is.
The strangest one would have to be my first one. It's still open. It's yet to be closed. We're still investigating it. This gentleman here has loss of time. He claims to have seen a UFO in close proximity, and him and his friend there happens to not want to testify or give any statement because he's afraid of what may happen to him, whereas the other one, the client that I have, he's all wants to share his story. Now, at first when you tell me the story that, you know, you see these bright lights, it's this milky orange craft is what he described, and then when they went up to this hill at a campground, they saw this beam of light, and then all of a sudden he goes back to the camp and realizes, okay, there's 45 minutes of missing time. That's strange. Doesn't think any of it, and doesn't report it to MUFON until I think 5 years after the fact, when he finally discovered that he was able to tell somebody his story. So that's not the strange part. The strange part is this is my first case with MUFON. You know, I'm going to work as hard as I can to prove my worth, to show that I'm a good investigator, and this happens to be one of the strangest ones. I end up meeting him, speaking to him, and then we end up discovering that with the loss of time, we came up with the idea of regression therapy through hypnosis. And the thing is with hypnosis is it costs money. We're non-for-profit, so we don't pay that. but I had to suggest it. Maybe we can do some regression therapy to figure out what may or may not have happened. So this guy here he lives in poverty. He's on ODSP. He doesn't have a lot of money in the first place. And the hypnosis sessions, some of them, they're pretty pricey. And he doesn't have any extra money. And the point of the story is that he was willing to pay out of his pocket after borrowing some money from his family to get hypnotized to find the answers to this. So even if he's lying to me or misleading us in information, he's willing to pay for these answers. And unfortunately, we weren't able to get him hypnotized. And that was because he was really, really anxious, and then we tried again. And I have to mention that the hypnotherapist that we used was Leslie Mitchell-Clark. She was on the show this week earlier, I believe.
Yes, absolutely.
So she worked on this case with us together. She's hoping to do some paranormal investigations with us this summer. We loved working with her. She's an amazing, intelligent woman. She does past life regressions. She does memory enhancement. She helps get rid of anxiety, phobias, and addictions and stuff like that. And just a shout out to her. You can go to www.lightworkhypnosis.com and you can check out all her stuff there. But she played a big part in this hypnosis here. And we were unfortunately able to get him to go under. Now, she tried it again.
Right. I just want to say something quickly. If you hear a siren in the background on my microphone here, I'll put it up. It's going to ring again. Hold on. Where is it here? Oh, maybe they're only ringing it once tonight. Oh, no, here it comes. If you can hear it, I'm going to point my microphone. You can probably just barely hear it.
Yeah,
my studio is in my house. And I live near the fire department. It's probably a good par 5 away, about 482 yards. So the volunteer firefighters are getting called out. It's not an air raid siren where all of a sudden the UFOs are coming to pick us up, right?
Yes.
And Corey in my Corey in my Space Out Radio chat room. She's also my booking coordinator. She wonders every time that rings if they're coming after her because she's like a UFO summoner. It's incredible the stories that she has.
That's
Anyways,
crazy. So to continue on there, we tried to do it a couple times, and he's still unable to go under. And Leslie explained that she feels that there's just something deep and traumatic happening to this man. So that's strange. We don't know if it's extraterrestrial, but we do know that there's something preventing him from being hypnotized. And he's still fighting. He's still willing to pay. He wanted to pay for a lie detector test just to prove that he believed it, which is another $500 alone for a lie detector test. And MUFON doesn't really sanction lie detector tests. They have the reasons behind it, but I mean, it just goes to show that this man who lives in poverty, who has absolutely nothing, is willing to pay for answers. Again, if he's lying, then he's doing a really good job selling it. And the plan is this summer is to take him back to the original area in Arthur, Ontario, and hopefully by bringing him back there, it may re-trigger these memories. And the plan is to get enough evidence to prove that, something has happened so we can get the other guy who was involved to come forward and give us a statement. Kind of breaching into the paranormal world a little bit here, but part of that investigation is also an experiment for us to conduct a paranormal investigation at the sighting location because my paranormal team, we believe that paranormal and UFO activity are connected, and so we're going to try every chance that we can to perform not only a UFO investigation but also a paranormal investigation in the same hotspot. And if we can pick up an EVP or blurry lights or orbs in the same spot, then that might suggest that they are connected.
I want to mention that James Borg, who is in Toronto, and he is a big-time Canadian ufologist. He is watching the show or listening to the show right now on his YouTube page, Ufophoria Chronicles, or make that his Facebook page, Ufophoria Chronicles. He is offering to take you out to show you. So I do want to pass that word along, since you
guys... Take me out to show me...
some UFOs.
That'd be cool. All right, well, if you're listening, Ryan.Stacey, Stacey, at blacklightiss.com. Send me an email.
Definitely.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Or, James, you can find Ryan on my Facebook page as well. So
yeah, that too.
You can take that route as well, but he is offering to do that for you. Now, when it comes to what you investigate, give us a link of every type of investigation that you are currently doing with MUFON. You've mentioned that you're looking for UFOs. Do you do a lot of ET abduction? Do you do a lot of crop circles? What have you got in there?
I have not had any crop circles, which would be awesome if I could. I have this alien abduction, which is the first one. But everything after that, primarily, let me just look at my list here, is orbs or lights or anomalies in the sky, like weird trajectories, weird movements, the 90-degree angles, the sudden elevation, and pausing and stopping on a dime. Those seem to be common. And one thing common with some of these investigations, too, is the color milky orange. Like, people describe, you can say orange or you can say, like pasty or a light orange or a white orange, but the common word seems to be milky orange. Everyone seems to be using the word milky to describe the orange, and that's a common color amongst the UFO talk that I've investigated. But unfortunately, I don't have all the exciting ones. I wish I had more exciting, but maybe some will come. You never know.
Well, I can say as a UFO experiencer myself, the first one that I saw when I was 21 years old actually had that milky orange color.
See, that's so strange. Like, why is that common?
I have no idea. And
why would you choose milky to describe it? Why would you use that as an adjective?
I remember one night, I come from a long line of alcoholics, and so I decided to go the other way, and I became a non-drinker because I just saw too many nightmares of what it cost and what the problems it caused with it. I mean, everybody's probably has one or two of those people in their family. Anyhow, long story short, I was designated driving for my buddies one night. And it was one of those nights where, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. It's still 25, 28 degrees Celsius outside. So I decided to grab a glass of iced tea, and I go out on my patio. I still lived with my parents back then. And we lived near an airport, and the airport shut down at midnight. And all of a sudden, and I'm a real aircraft buff. I had wanted to be a fighter pilot since I was 3 years old, seeing my first air show in a town I grew up in, and I just love airplanes, everything to do with them. And over the years, I've learned to recognize the sounds. So what happened here was, I remember hearing this buzzing, and I'm like, wow, that sounds like a C-130 Hercules, but we don't have Herculeses in this area. We have water bombers, but they're the old DC-3s, DC-4s on the fleet of planes that the area water bombing unit uses. And I looked up to my right, and probably at about 5,000 feet, I see the milky orange light. And I watched it because we were up on a hill, and our hill that we lived on actually overlooked the airport, and the airport was all black. The runway lights had been turned out. And I watched this orange glob of light fly with its sound over top of the airport. And I watched it go for about a mile and a half, and then all of a sudden the light went off. And then a few seconds later, the sound went off. Huh. And that was the first UFO I ever saw. So that milky orange, I've seen it a few times since then. It just seems to be everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it just seems to be the common color. And, it's either... Yeah. Is it extraterrestrial, though? Do you believe it was extraterrestrial, or do you think it was military?
Well, knowing that the closest military base where I grew up in the Lower Mainland was in Comox, British Columbia, and the airport that I grew up nearby really didn't have any military aircraft. At that time, it was still a private airport where it was only landing things as big as water bombers, but usually it was all Cessna aircraft. There wasn't even Learjets there at that time when that happened. I mean, since Vancouver has expanded its airport, a lot of flights are now going into my old town, which is Abbotsford, British Columbia. And at that time, I would have said no. Absolutely not. I would have been adamant that that was not a military aircraft. Sounded like one, sounded like a C-130, but the way the sound turned off. And I waited out there waiting for that sound to come back because, let's face it, if it's banking, you may lose some of the sound. And there was no other sound.
Weird.
So that's that was sighting number 1 out of about 120 that I've had.
How would you describe the sound?
Like I said, a little bit deeper sound. If you know what a C-130 Hercules sounds like,
it's a big,
it's
deep
a very
roar
deep,
kind of type. Yeah,
a deep roar, propeller roar, deeper sound than that, like 1 or 2 octaves lower than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Ryan, we're going to hop out for a break here at the top of the hour. So you get comfy, go have some coffee, because I know it's late for you. You're not used to doing this, so
it's 1 in the morning for me.
Exactly. So it's time for you to, gas up a little bit. And I will be right back after this break. We are talking with Ryan Stacey. He's an investigator with MUFON Canada. His website is blacklightiss.com. And we're talking Canadian UFOs right now on Spaced Out Radio. Hour number 2 coming up right after this.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantis, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners and the live listeners. Usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, SR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Good evening and welcome back to Spaced Out Radio's hour number 2 tonight. Glad to have you all with us. If you're on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Forum, Spaced Out Radio's SOR Space Travelers group chat on Facebook, or Euphoria Chronicles. We absolutely love it. There is no cat in the studio. I had to kick him out during the break, so there will be no meowing during the break. We really appreciate the cat. I haven't named it yet, but I'll come up with something in regards to it. But he's gone. Had to boot him out of the room. Otherwise, he would have been just trouble. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we put our archives, is at Spaced Out Radio Show. Pardon me, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tomorrow night, we got an interesting show. Robert Murch will be with us. We will be discussing Ouija boards. Robert has the largest Ouija board collection in the world. It's going to be great to have him on the air with us again on Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we are talking with Ryan Stacey. He is part of BlacklightISS.com. He's also an affiliate investigator with MUFON Canada. We bring Ryan back in now. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi there. You're welcome.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good. Just cracked open a Red Bull.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I got the iced tea brewing right behind me, so I'm okay with that.
Nice.
Hey, we were talking about this case that you were working on where the gentleman had missing time, and then we started talking about what you investigate with MUFON. When this gentleman was going through his missing time, and he tried to get under hypnosis with Leslie Mitchell Clark, did he mention anything about extraterrestrials?
Yes, and I forgot to mention that. He had mentioned that he had seen what appeared to be, a craft where, alien, the way he described to be were the Greys. It was the best way that he could describe them, and he saw 2 of them come out, and then he saw another craft that was about to land, and it looked like to him that the 2 aliens were communicating with each other, socializing with each other, and that's the last thing that he remembers. And then, but that's why we were trying to have the regression therapy, to see if we can pull that out, to figure out what happened after that point, to the point that he got home and realized 45 minutes was missing. And unfortunately, we have failed to get him under, and that's due to his high levels of anxiety, maybe because he really wants it, or who knows, maybe there's something preventing it. Extraterrestrial.
Do you believe in the whole abduction phenomena?
Scientifically, yes. It would make sense if you believe, depends on what theory you believe in. I believe in us being created by a higher power, and, we would, like anything, you would probably want to monitor it, test it, and study it. Hopefully for the better good. I don't believe in this whole, the mutilation and the torture and all the scary things around it. Of course, it would be a nightmare, but I mean, from a scientific point of view, it would make sense for the scientists to keep tabs on their test subjects. So it's possible, yes.
When it comes to Canadians, the one thing that I have learned, and I'm curious to get your opinion of this. Since I started this show in 2014, I've had people like Laura Eisenhower on, who is the great-granddaughter of the former President Eisenhower. We've talked a lot about the apparent supposed deal that he made with extraterrestrials, which was humans for technology. We hear a lot of people in the United States, when they talk about alien abduction, having a very negative experience in regards to what is happening to them, whether it's with the Greys, like they're being operated on. You know, we heard, people always laugh at this term, but I mean, Whitley Strieber is famous for, in his book Communion, for getting anal probed. It's a nasty, nasty experience for a lot of people. Yet the Canadian people who I have talked to in regards to alien abduction seem to be having more positive experiences. In the cases that you have worked on where there has been extraterrestrial contact, have you noticed the difference between how many people, and I'm not sure how many cases you've investigated with this, but how many people are having a positive ET experience compared to a negative ET experience? And if you haven't investigated them, Ryan, have you heard the subject come up?
It's very interesting, actually. They are more positive, too. I don't know if that's just the Canadian outlook, but they seem to feel as if they're welcoming, which is good. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's all perspective, and maybe there's a different reason for their visits or their abductions. Who knows exactly what's happening? And I mean, most people don't like hospitals in general. Like, that's with another human doctor. People don't like needles. People don't like, it's scary as it is. So you can imagine the fear that runs through some people when you have a being that you've never seen before doing the same things to you. It makes sense why they would be scared. But yeah, no, as far as the ones that I've investigated, they don't seem to have any problems, which is strange.
Do you find that odd, though? Because this is the theory I'm trying to figure out. I'm scratching my head over this. Because I would say, out of everybody that I have talked to in Canada, I've only had maybe 2 people out of 25 that I have talked to with ET experience say they actually had a negative experience. And yet, down south, we have Hollywood making movies like Fire in the Sky, Aliens.
That's a good
Predator.
movie, actually.
Oh, I love that movie. Even though, according to Travis Walton, it's not really what happened to him. But on the flip side, we see a lot of issues on the negative side with ETs. Do you think then that the media is stereotyping what the abduction experience is like comparatively to what the reality is with the experiences that are being reported?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, now we're getting back into conspiracies again, and like, it could be conditioning as well. It could be a distraction. They may be, happy folk that are out there to help us and save us, but then they're trying to put the wrath of the fear of God in us so that we don't help them, and it's... Or we can actually, another way to look at it too is that there's a bunch of different factions, of different races of aliens as well, like Predator versus Alien. That's a prime example of 2 different alien species combating with each other. It could be, on a conspiratorial point of view, it could be conditioning to something that are already aware of. And I'll give you an example of conditioning is you look at Captain America in the Marvel movies, and then you parallel that to Hitler and his Aryan race. He was already testing on military soldiers to create the perfect soldier, which is what Captain America today is, and now he's revered as a superhero and all that stuff. So we were conditioned to like something that has already happened in the past. So taking that, comparing it with the alien theory, there, these could be conditioning or distractions. Very well be. I've never been abducted myself, so I really can't. I really can't say, but if I had the choice between getting picked up by a scary alien or a friendly alien, I probably definitely would choose a friendly one.
Mine was friendly. I'm going to tell you that right now. Mine was friendly. I have a couple questions for you from the SOR Space Travelers room.
Okay.
And I'm going to preface this before I get to Eric's question. I do want to say you believe there is a tie-in between UFOlogy and the paranormal. Why is that?
Well, It's a tough question. I believe it's because it's something we're unaware of, really. So with paranormal, I don't know. It's just like I believe that ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts. It's really hard to explain here. So if I don't believe in the theory of ghosts, but I do believe in interdimensional beings. So for me to grasp around the idea of the energy leaving the body and then all of a sudden becoming intelligent and then staying there on repeat, you'd have to believe in the fact that this has already happened and something is recording it, allowing the energy to continue and loop itself, which I find a little bit harder to believe. And it's easier for me to believe that what we're experiencing from a paranormal point of view is somebody else on the other side trying to communicate with us at the same time we're trying to communicate with them. So when we use our technology like an EVP device or a black light, for example, we're trying to create a void to communicate with what some people believe to be ghosts, but what we're actually communicating with are other people on the other side trying to do the same thing. So it's like a bridge. And if they are interdimensional beings, which are coupled with UFO activity, parallel dimensions, and all that other stuff, it's possible that they are connected because it's unexplained. It's paranormal. Paranormal just means above normal, really. And they have technology that we can't explain. So in order for them to communicate with us on another plane of existence, they would have to have technology. And it's just something I've believed. It's easier to believe, really, than, Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Well, I'll get to Eric's question then, because he runs a group called Forest Moon Paranormal out of Washington State. What kind of gear, when you're on an investigation, do you use? Is it more than just a pen and paper and a recording device?
We do we have recording devices. We have a full spectrum camera. We have 2 full spectrum cameras. I have a black light. We have a green laser to do a star array as well. We have a K2. We have an EMF reader. We have a REM pod. We're working on getting a DVR system, which is a camera system. But we haven't gotten that yet. And basically, we don't bring all the equipment we bring everything with, but we don't use it all in every investigation. So once we plan it out, we figure out what's the best tool to capture the best evidence for whatever was claimed. So if there was evidence or the claim of an apparition walking down the hallway, then we'll set up the full spectrum camera in that hallway with the REM pod, with giving the idea that if it is on a loop or if it does happen to go down this hallway, then the REM pod is ideally going to go off. We also have a spirit box or ghost box. I'm not really a fan of those, but we have one of those too. Kind of I'm trying to think. We got digital cameras, a whole bunch of stuff.
It's kind of fun to play with the technology when you're trying to prove what's going on, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the black light's important too because that's a full spectrum, right? Because there's the other end with ultraviolet and then infrared light. So there are things that we can't see with our eyes, and we need those type of technology to see these things. Also, we have thermal cameras. I forgot about that too, that we use as well. And yeah, technology is very important. And we have evidence, even with our cell phones. I say this analogy all the time, but we don't know how cell phones work. We just have evidence of it working because I send a text, you get it on the other end, we know it works, but we don't see the waves transpire, and we need technology like that to see it. And I believe that's what this paranormal or phenomenon is something going on that we can't see. And it's connecting with something else on the other side. What is the other side? Does it coexist? Is it another dimension? It's so many questions, but it's definitely common because a lot of people report stuff, right?
It's interesting.
We actually just did an investigation at Ed's place. He's one of our paranormal investigators, as well as Priscilla, who I mentioned earlier. His REM pod was going off like crazy at his house too, which is bizarre. There was even a water cooler caught on frame as well. the water, I don't know how to explain it, but, you know, it kind of gurgled a bit. You know, it's the type of action that only happens when somebody's trying to get water. And it went off randomly, and we got that on video with the REM pod going off simultaneously, and it's just strange stuff.
In the extraterrestrial cases that you have studied, Bonnie would like to know, do we always see people brought back to the exact same place where they were? Or how does missing time work in these cases? Have you been able to put a finger on that?
I haven't had much experience with those types of cases. This one that I'm doing is my first one of the sort. But the plan is, to bring him back, and hopefully, it's just to kind of re-trigger his memory. I've heard, as an investigator with traumatic experiences, with whether it be, murders or suicides or something, of those sorts, bringing people back to the area can be traumatic, but it also re-triggers those events. So I do think, even though I haven't done it yet, I do think it would be very beneficial. And that's the best place that we can put him in, that environment, and hopefully he can retrace his steps.
Would you like to work more ET cases? Is that something that interests you, or do you try and stay away from that because you're just not quite sure on the whole belief system in regards to it?
I'd like to work more on that because I don't know, it just seems to be more interesting. With the stuff in the sky, it could be easily passed off as military, and if it's military, we'll never know. We'll never know if it's extraterrestrial. We'll never know if it's military unless I see it from my own eyes. Excuse me. The ET stuff is interesting because we're hearing stories that are describing stuff, but that can also be passed off as stuff that they've, seen on the TV. But every now and again, I get these weird stories that seem to be believable when I do videotape their witness statements as well, and I look for their tells, and 9 times out of 10, everything looks like they're telling me the truth. So I don't see any signs of deception. I don't see any signs of of lies, because whatever they saw, despite whether I've seen it or not, they do believe it happened. And the extraterrestrial stories are more exciting than seeing stuff in the sky, for sure.
When you are investigating people and you're interviewing them and you're vetting them to see whether or not they are telling you the truth, take me through that process. I'm kind of interested in that because I've never been through it. I know many people who've never been through it, and yet there has to be a lot of people who are just maybe schizophrenic, bipolar, or have some sort of mental disease where they're just calling you on something that is made up in their mind rather than a true experience. I would love for you to take me through that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, too, is I have no way of knowing. I can ask those leading questions, like, are you on any medication? And then I hope they're telling me the truth. They may say no, they may say yes, they may be honest about it. And people who suffer from schizophrenic and bipolar disease, they believe what is happening to them is happening to them, and if they believe it, there's, even if it's right or wrong, unless we're wired to their brain, we have no idea what they're seeing. And really, all it is I get the case. I get an email, and then I send an email out, and I just say, introduce myself. My name's Ryan. I'm the MUFON investigator assigned to your case. I'd like to talk to you more about your case. Could you please respond back to me? If I don't get a response back, then, the person either wants to remain anonymous or they just haven't got the email or they're not interested. So I usually pass that off. But the people who get back to me, then we move on to the questionnaire. So I start asking them questions like, can you draw me a picture, or can you describe, can you repeat that? And then if I can get them on the phone, then that's when the stuff starts to work. So I can talk to them, I can get their story straight, I can ask them, and then I pay attention. So I record the conversation first of all, and then I just re-listen to it. And then because when I'm talking to them at first, I'm getting the information. And then when I go back and I listen to it, I'm listening for, signs of pauses, how long they're pausing between answering my questions, and then when I ask them another question that's leading, their tone of voice and all this other stuff. So if their tone changes, it might suggest that they're upset with me asking these leading questions. If their pause is long, it may indicate that, they're thinking too long about something, trying to find the right answer. The little tells like that could suggest that, they may be lying or they may be exaggerating. I'll never know, but I kind of use that to kind of weigh the truthfulness of the story, because I got to be unbiased about all this stuff too, because if they believe it, then I got to innocent until proven guilty. I wasn't a witness to this. Now when they're in person, if I'm lucky enough to have an in-person interview and I get their permission to record it, then I just sit back, the same thing, and I watch their tells, their body language. Where are their eyes looking? Where, are they shrugging their shoulders? Are they where are they putting their arms? There's lots of things that we do that we're subconscious about, and they're indicators of us withholding information or not being confident or being angry. And then I look at all that other stuff, and if they pass all those checks, then basically we're left with someone telling what they believe to be the truth, and then I take that more seriously.
And in a lot of times, it's almost like a Rubik's Cube that you have to solve, because the puzzle, when you're dealing with people and you're sitting right across from them or on the phone with them, you want to give them every benefit of the doubt. But in the meantime, your job as an investigator is to be skeptical of everything and make sure that you are getting the true, accurate story, not the imagination blown up proportion of the story. Is that right?
Well, that's right. And one of the best tactics that you could do, I picked this up actually from a show called Lie to Me. It's actually a really good show, and this tactic actually works very, very well. So if somebody's telling you a story, you listen to it, and then you ask them to repeat it to you backwards in the order that those events have happened. If it's truthful, they'll be able to tell you backwards, step by step, what had happened. But if they can't, it's because when they tell a lie, they're making it up on the spot. They keep rolling forward with it. And if they have to repeat it backwards, they can't remember which order the events came in. And if they can't do that, then they're definitely lying to you on the spot.
How many cases do you turn away because the people don't seem legit?
None, actually. I take everything at face value. So I asked them, and my job, I believe, is to observe and report. So I take the information, I write it down as if it's the truth, and then I just cross-reference everything. I find research, I learn, maybe it is possible. There's a lot of, I'm still getting my roots with MUFON, meaning I'm trying to still figure out what's normal. There's a misconception, especially with private investigators, that we have answers to everything. We're all experts in some certain ways, but there are a lot of questions that I don't have answers for at the particular moment. So I'll take their statement, say, some saw a shadow figure of some sort. I don't know anything about shadow figures, so I'm not going to tell them it's not a shadow figure, but I'm going to research, and learn about shadow figures to understand and find parallels with their story. Now, if I'm able to do that, then, I'd have to, think about the fact that this person may have done the same thing too, and they're retelling me stuff that they've already read. But I have to be open-minded. And if I'm just going to debunk everything else, then I'm not going to get anywhere. Because I can definitely, if I'm stubborn and I'm becoming more open-minded the more that I do these things. I went into here pretty hell-bent on disproving everything, but I'm starting to believe a little bit more. And primarily, it's just observing and looking at the facts.
Ryan, when you're looking at people, what physically are you looking at in regards to body language?
The position of their shoulders, their body, the way their arms are. Sometimes if they fold their arms, they're hiding something. They want to be protected. They're sheltering themselves. If they're angry about something, they might clench their fists. They might tap if they're impatient. If they say something and they want an answer, and if I don't respond right away, if they're tapping their finger, they're impatient, which means they're not confident with what they're saying. Their eye movement, their blinking, triple blinks. There's just pretty much anything. But again, you can miss it all. When I'm that's why I record it if I can, because then I just sit back and analyze it. And if anything, in the long run, if we have that evidence and it's proven that they aren't showing any signs of deception, that just makes their story so much more credible. You know?
I have a question from Gail in the SOR Space Travelers chat room, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And she is asking, after you complete a MUFON investigation, what happens with the conclusion?
Once I'm done, I submit it as finished, and I label it either as an unknown area vehicle or an unidentified flying object or insufficient data. And then I submit it, and then it gets reviewed by one of our provincial directors, and they'll read it, and then they'll close it. But it stays in the database. So if you go to the MUFON website, MUFON CMS, and you can cross-search my name, Ryan Stacey, S-T-A-C-E-Y, you can actually see some of the investigations that I've done. I don't think you'll be able to see my investigative report, but you can see my case files and my pictures and my evidence that I use to solve it. But what I've done with my videos is I have a YouTube channel. If you go to www.youtube.com/Blacklight ISS, we got about 15 videos on there. There's a playlist called Ryan's MUFON Investigations, and what I've done is I put together a minute video of my findings of these investigations with pictures and details collected from the investigation, and I kind of leave it for interpretation. This is what my findings is, this is what the witness claims, and then the idea here is to get feedback, get people to comment, let us know what you think. Because really, even when I close it, I've never closed one as a definitive, this is what it is. I'll have no way of knowing it, so I'm still open-minded with that. And yeah, so they don't disappear. They're still there, and you can look at them, and it's available to the public.
Okay, I'm a little confused here in regards to it, but I'm going to get to this question in regards to MUFON right afterwards, because we're at the bottom of the hour for a break here, so we're going to hop out. Our guest tonight is Ryan Stacey. BlacklightISS.com is his website. We're talking UFOlogy in Canada. He's a part of MUFON Canada. More investigation and more questions from you right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I don't want to take a thing from you. I just want to feel like something real with you. I just want to fly.
Welcome back to the second full hour of Spaced Out Radio. We're at the bottom. This is the halfway point between the show. If you took an axe and chopped it in half, this is where we are. It looks really good. I like it. We're rolling tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Tomorrow night on the show, Robert Murch will join us. He has the largest Ouija board collection in the world. I like to call it Ouija, not Ouija. Ouija. At least that's the way Robert pronounces it, so that's what we're going with. He's the man behind the brilliance of the board and the history. He'll be with us tomorrow night. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. All of our archives are stored on YouTube. Our channel that you can subscribe to is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. Don't forget to send your prayers and everything towards Fort McMurray, Alberta. The town is under siege with a forest fire that's surrounding it. It is starting to burn major buildings in the town. Hook up online with the Canadian Red Cross. Donate a nickel, a dime, a quarter, whatever you can. There's a lot of people who've lost their homes. They've lost everything. They could really use the help right about now. Ryan Stacey is our guest tonight. He is a MUFON Canada investigator. His website, blacklightiss.com. We bring Ryan back in to the show right now. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
You're going the distance with me tonight.
Yes, sir.
We're going 3 rounds. The UFC does 5 in a championship belt. We can only do 3. We're only going 3 rounds here. So we're halfway through round number 2. Right before the break, I said I had a question for you regarding MUFON. As an investigator, when you turn your information and your reports over to MUFON and they post it online for the public to see, what is their goal with all of this information gathering? What do they do with it?
Well, we have a show called Hangar One. They do take the best cases and they, it's on History Television, and I think there's a couple Sci-Fi Channel as well. So they take those cases and they blow them up really, and they expose them and they talk about them. We also have the Alien Alien Cosmic Expo coming up in June at the Best Western in Brantford, I believe. Brantford, Ontario.
That's Bob Mitchell's event.
Yes, and Paul Hellier will be there, Nick Pope, Stu Bundy as well from MUFON Canada. I'm going to be there as well with Priscilla. We're going to help man the table with other investigators with Dave Palachuk and a few others. But they'll take information like that and will showcase it to the audience. I think one of my cases is going to be showcased at this expo as well. It's going to be featured in one of the newsletters too. So the best answer I can give you is that they share it and they teach others, and we use it to recruit others to look into the sky to help us investigate and promote the awareness of extraterrestrials and UFO phenomenon. And together we're hoping to, work together to come to those conclusions. They take donations as well. There's merchandise that you can purchase from them as well, and there's a journal that you can sign up for to give you daily updates of the UFOs and these interviews and these cases as well. They pick the top ones and they showcase them throughout our members. You can find out more about the membership on the MUFON.com. And I think it's only $30 for the year. It's not bad. You get an edition every month. Lots of information. So in a nutshell, they take the best of the best and they exploit it. And hopefully with the ratings, and they collect, a bunch of fans in search of the same answers.
Is MUFON's goal just to collect the evidence and piece it together, or are they like other groups out there, much like the Paradigm Research Group and Stephen Bassett, where it is about eventual disclosure?
I think they are leaning towards disclosure as well. They do promote the research of the UFOs to find out what's exactly happening. That we want to educate the public and figure out how it impacts the society, how we can help with that as well. It's a big benefit to humanity, and their focus is on the scientific study for sure. But with disclosure, that would only solidify answers as well, right? If we had a disclosure of some of these crafts, then we would be able to eliminate some of these possibilities too. So I think disclosure would be a great thing to have.
We are talking with Ryan Stacey from MUFON Canada tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, blacklightiss.com, if you want to check him out and what he does. Now, the question that I have is from Claudia in the SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook. We talked about the one alien encounter investigation that you did. But are there other stories out there that just absolutely blew your mind that you have covered? And if you could go into detail about that.
That I have covered personally?
Yes.
No.
Or maybe really. Let's expand the question that MUFON Canada has investigated that just seems like right off the planet, no pun intended.
I'm fairly new to MUFON Canada, so I'm kind of stuck in my own little world, to be honest. Like, MUFON is great. It's a great outlet to allow me to investigate a bunch of things. But to be completely honest, I'm stuck in my own realm right now with with the investigations I've done myself. So I'm really not aware of some of the big things, which is unfortunate. I feel like I should be, but I've been kind of caught up in my own investigations because I've been finding them, I give them 110%, and I don't want to have anyone else's influence on my investigations as well. But I'm definitely going to make a note, and I'm going to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever then had any stories that seem so sensational in your short time with MUFON that seem too good to be true, but maybe turned out to be true?
No, I mean, everything seems legit. Like, it just seems like what I consider normal. Like, the flash. There's nothing bizarre other than the common flashing lights, seeing people, hearing voices and stuff. There was a paranormal case that I helped another field investigator with, out in New Brunswick, I believe is where he's at. So there was an alien abduction case there that he was starting to say that he was having night tremors or night terrors in the middle of the night, and he was freaking out, trying to figure out what was happening. And in my paranormal research, I've learned that night tremors are common with shadow people, and night tremors are also common with alien abductees. So there's a parallel right there with paranormal activity and an alien abduction. So in one realm they call these shadow figures ghosts, and in the other realm these shadow figures are also extraterrestrials, so they're aliens. And this guy here claims to have been levitated and dragged out of his bed, and he, how do you describe himself? Paralyzed from the legs down, from the waist down, crawling towards the door. He asked for help. He screamed, no one can hear him, kind of type deal, and then he was levitated and thrown on top of his bed. We've talked to him and interviewed him, and he seems to be telling the truth. The interesting thing about that is he suffers from Crohn's disease, and it's common for people who have Crohn's disease to hallucinate with the medication that they're taking. So that was a suggestion that I had, that he may be hallucinating from the medication that he's on to treat this illness. But his father has experience with extraterrestrials. He's seen aliens. He has seen crafts as well. And then now also the original witness's son. So we have 3 generations of extraterrestrial and paranormal activity. Where his son here, he hears stuff and he's drawing stuff. He's got he draws these shadow people that he sees in his dreams. So the weird thing about it is that it's passed on through generations. And then when we talk to the father didn't know that his grandson was experiencing these things, and the father also didn't know that his son was experiencing these things. So it was interesting to hear common stories from all 3 of them, but they weren't collaborating with each other. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So, I mean, that was bizarre. I mean, that wasn't a case that I did 100%. I partnered with that to help another investigator, but that's pretty much the best thing I can give right now.
How much fun is it to do this job?
It's fun. I mean, it definitely doesn't pay the bills. But no, I like it. I do. I mean, it's a big study. It's a big mind game. I like learning. I like solving puzzles. I like figuring everything out, and I enjoy it a lot. It's currently 1:45 in the morning here, and I'm going to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning just to talk about this stuff. So that's, I like it.
When you look at the whole entire piece of the paranormal, including ufological and everything that you have learned in your short time in doing this kind of investigation, is it something that you feel that is a real ignored type of phenomenon here in Canada? Do you think we're way too lax on this subject?
Yeah, I mean, there's not really many solutions to what's happening, right? I mean, all we can do is report it and compare it. We don't, in the paranormal realm, we can do smudging, or we can sage, or we can, prayers. We can do stuff like that to kind of, reset the air, for lack of a better term. But, I mean, it's really hard.
It is hard when you look at everything, because in the end, I mean, you're responsible for being accurate. You're responsible for taking the best quality care of your informant who is giving you the information. Mm-hmm. You have to really put everything together, because in these types of investigations, no matter what you believe or do not believe, you really have to put your own ego at check at the door, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, say for example, someone comes up to me and says, I got picked up by this gray alien, and he, sexually molested me. It sounds bizarre, but I mean, I got to look at him and be like, okay, this guy, what if this really happened? Pretend it wasn't an alien, he still feels as if he was molested. And if he was, there's post-traumatic stress, there's anxiety, there's a bunch of other, common, I don't want to say diseases, but common symptoms or reactions to, traumatic events like this. And I have to treat that, despite what the reason is. It may come out later that, this alien happened to be imaginary or a cover for something that happened in his childhood. I mean, who really knows how this stuff had happened, but what's important for me is to treat it as if it was real, absolute. And I look at it like, okay, this is real. What do I do? How do I fix it? You know, what are the answers for it? And if I can't come up with an answer, then I come up with possible suggestions or solutions. You know, I turn them to professionals, or I turn them to, you know, other people that can help. But I'll never turn anyone away, despite what I believe.
Do cryptids like Bigfoot come into play?
Not as much as I'd like to. I'm interested in Bigfoot. I like, there's an old Sumerian tale about Enkidu. It was Gilgamesh. His friend was the first Bigfoot, I guess is what they call it. So Bigfoot's actually been connected to extraterrestrials as well. There's theories out there that Bigfoot is from another planet. Have you heard those theories?
I have. I've actually played with a set of tarot cards that have Bigfoot coming from another planet. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and are you familiar with Sumerians as well?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so the Epic of Gilgamesh, familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay, so the parallel there with it is, you know, Enkidu had come down from the heavens. He was given to Gilgamesh from the gods to be his partner, and he was described as, you know, a very tall, large, hairy man, and that's pretty much Bigfoot coming down from a spaceship when you break it down. And
so do you believe then that Bigfoot may have some extra-dimensional or interdimensional type powers?
I don't know about powers. I mean, I haven't really read anything about them having powers other than just, you know, very good hiding skills. But what kind of powers do they have?
Well, they are the reigning hide-and-seek champions of the forest, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Right? And last night we actually did a Bigfoot show with investigator out of Indiana. Her name is Edie Kaito. And we also had Colorado investigator Mike Johnson on from Sasquatch Investigations of the Rockies in Colorado. And it's funny because here they are about 2,000 miles apart, and the information and the investigations and clues that they have been able to gather are so similar. It's so interesting because from footprints to hair samples to trail cams, that every time a Bigfoot walks through, this bright white light seems to flash, almost like like you're setting off a flash inside a picture. It's the weirdest thing. And for them, believe it or not, neither of them had even talked face-to-face before, let alone on social media the odd time.
And they capture the same.
And they're capturing the same information and evidence. Mm-hmm. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, there's definitely something going on there too. Because, like, I mean, it shows characteristics of, you know, of an ape as well as a man. You know, it could be, you know, an endangered species for all we know. But I mean, as far as I have learned, we've only captured evidence of it existing. I don't think anyone's actually captured one yet, right?
Well, if you go back, and I got a book on my shelf right now, it's called Sasquatch Bigfoot. And one second here, I'm just going to grab it. Pardon me. It's called Yale and the Strange Story of Jacko the Ape Boy by Christopher L. Murphy. And I'm going to try and get this guy on the show. But apparently, in the Fraser Canyon of British Columbia, in 19 or even earlier than that, late 1800s, there was a story of a baby Sasquatch that was found right where they were putting the Trans-Canada Railway through on the Cascade Mountains. And it's just amazing, this story, that this creature was caught, and then, you know, just like a typical Bigfoot story or UFO story, it just disappears.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It just disappears. And I'm thinking that there is something to it. I believe people have found evidence, but there's just something strange about them that seems to have information go away, except for maybe the Patterson-Gimlin film.
Yeah, that's the original film, right? what started this all. When you look back at the Sumerian tale, though, the whole purpose of the Bigfoot was given to be man's friend, to help the king, to help him in his travels. But he was also a warrior, described in the Sumerian text. He was there to help, to fight alongside with man, but he definitely came from the heavens. He came from another planet or another universe kind of type deal.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
please.
go ahead.
No, you go.
I was going to say maybe this Bigfoot theory, Bigfoot remnants it traces back down to the Sumerian roots, and that's just we're tracing footsteps of something that didn't originate on this planet.
Absolutely. And you know what? One of the things that I have noticed with a lot of Bigfoot investigators is they do not take into account First Nations stories in regards to Bigfoot. It's almost like we have this. It's almost like we have this Caucasian Christian scientific background that if it doesn't fall into those parameters, we're not paying attention. Yet First Nations people or American Indians who have gone through these stories and heard these stories and legends for thousands of years and are in the know seem to be kind of shunned to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't agree with that. I think that if you're going to give a proper scientific research, you need to be able to get as much information from wherever that information comes from.
Well, the Aboriginal culture is one of the oldest cultures as well. If anything, they're in touch with nature. So, I think as far as witnesses goes, they would be the best witness to take a statement from, And I think, I'm not sure if the Wendigo is the
Wendigo, yeah.
Wendigo or whatever, that would be probably the native equivalent to Bigfoot. Am I not wrong? Am I right there? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, so, they very similarities, and they're star people as well. They look into the heavens, they look into space, they look into, they're full astrological. And it's just weird that they would be shunned. And, and then you look at a lot of things that have been shunned in the history, like women. We had the feminist era, we had the racism in the past as well. Everyone fighting for their rights and stuff. And if you trace it back to the origins, women were revered as gods. And the origin story with the Sumerians were African American, they were dark skinned. And I feel that maybe the Native Americans are in this same category, whereas they're being shunned not because they're different, but because they know the truth. And we're being distracted from the truth, not letting them speak, rip them of their credibility. And so they can tell the truth and nobody will believe them. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you're going with that.
You get what I'm saying? And then there's a theory that Priscilla has as well, my fiance, which is also the other investigator on our team. 9 times out of 10, the cases that I deal with, these people are on ODSP. They are suffering from some, setback. And she feels, and I'm starting to believe her, that the reason why these people are seeing these things is because they appear to be uncredible because they have some sort of mental illness. And imagine the race of aliens is so intelligent to know that these people have mental illnesses and the public won't believe them. So they expose themselves knowing that, no one would ever believe them. And it seems to be common. Like I said, 9 out of 10 out of all the investigations that I've done, they all suffer from some sort of mental illness, but I believe them to be telling the truth.
Well, I do know when it comes to Bigfoot that a lot of First Nations clans in British Columbia here, they tend to believe that Sasquatch does have interdimensional or shape-shifting capabilities. That's the reason why we've never found a body. That's the reason why nobody sees them. And Sasquatch will only allow you to see them if they want you to see them. It's really everything in their control. And I believe that. I
do believe that too. And in the Sumerian tale, Enkidu was once mentioned that he rendered himself invisible temporarily to get past, the century. There's for those of you that don't know the Sumerian tale, there's the ancient civilization, the origin story of cradle civilization. They had advanced technology way beyond us. I recommend purchasing the book, The 12th Planet by Zecharia Sitchin. He explains everything in there. But so like this Enkidu, this Bigfoot character was like the super sidekick, like Robin to Batman. Like it was an amazing creature, according to legend.
Do you think that we'll ever need a body in order to prove Bigfoot, or do you think there's enough scientific evidence collected by people in order to say that Bigfoot is a real species? Because I do know here in British Columbia, it is actually a $10,000 fine and jail time if you shoot and kill a Bigfoot.
Really? Wow. Wow, anything's possible. Really, like all the evidence we have is circumstantial, right? I mean, how far has this evidence been tested? Like, it's not been tampered, right? When you look at these giant footprints, you know, the mold's been taken, but you can tell that they're not man-made. These hair samples, they get them DNA tested. You know, what genius are we looking at? Like, do they match anything else on this planet? Has that been tested yet at all? Do they have hair samples, or?
Yes, in fact, Edie Kaito actually has teeth samples.
Okay.
And they were matched to by what she does is she has what they call a gifting site. And she actually put out juice boxes, and one of the Sasquatch had bit into this juice box. And when they measured the dental structure to a dental structure that was found over in Mount St. Helens area of Washington State near Ape Canyon, which is, 3,000 miles away?
Yeah.
The dental structures were identical and did not match any known creature that is roaming the forests of North America.
Yeah, to me that's a good piece of evidence. There's definitely some sort of creature, you know, doing that. And if it's the same creature, you know, if you believe in the theory of it being interdimensional or able to disappear and reappear, it could be the same. It could be one person for all we know, or one, you know, animal, whatever you want to classify it as.
True enough.
We
are going to hop out for a break here at the top of the hour. Hour number 2 is now down and out. We are talking with Ryan Stacey. He's an investigator with MUFON Canada. Also does a little bit of paranormal work and missing people work with Blacklight ISS. That's his company. BlacklightISS.com is their website. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back after this break.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Ratings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to the third and final hour of Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Tomorrow night on the show, we're stepping into the Ouija board, as Robert Murch will join us. He has the largest Ouija board collection in the world. We're going to find out about Ouija. Is it bad? Is it good? What can we really do with communication with the other side? He'll be with us tomorrow night. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we store our archives, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, we are talking everything from MUFON to paranormal to missing people, with investigator Ryan Stacey from MUFON Canada, his website, blacklightiss.com. We bring Ryan back in now. Thank you so much for being with us for the entire show tonight.
You are welcome. Thank you for whoever created coffee, because that's definitely what's helping me truck through this.
Jeez, first coffee, then Red Bull. Now we're back to coffee. You are going to be jacked up all night, my friend.
Yeah, staying up is the easy part. Getting back to bed, that's the challenge.
Exactly. I want to start off with a little paranormal talk here, because we do have some questions about the paranormal. You're still a little bit unsure of exactly what is actually happening with spirits, ghosts, and everything like that. Claudia has a question. Ryan, what do you think orbs are?
Well, there's many theories. First thing I say, it's dust or it's bugs. But I mean, it all depends on, I think it's all three, or it's either bugs, dust, or energy of some sort. It depends on how it comes into frame and how it exits frames. Like if it's dust, you have the normal patterns of it falling or trickling in random areas. And then you have bugs. It's usually something that'll go from one edge of the screen to the other edge of the screen. But what's really weird for me for the orbs that I've witnessed is them appearing in the center of the screen and then moving. So it's either, to me, that appears as if the energy just manifested and then decided to go in whatever trajectory it was heading. So orbs are kind of I don't know. They're strange, but the specific type of orb that I like, or that I'm willing to take interest in, are those that manifest in the center of the screen and then travel off.
Claudia has a follow-up question in regards to crop circles. Do you believe that some crop circles are real messages from extraterrestrials?
They very well could be. I mean, they're definitely very intricate, and if they're done from, and you can only see them from the sky, and they're not hoax, they're not man-made, I believe so. It would make total lots of sense because, only how else would they communicate with us? And they can only be visible from the sky, and they might not even be messages to us. They might be messages to each other. The interesting thing about crop circles is that the stems don't break. They just fold, and they get burnt out in the center of the stalks. And crop circles are just bizarre. I learned about that in my training, but I unfortunately have yet to see one.
There has been ones in the area where I grew up, but I'm not too sure those are actual ET ones, because I do know the one that I did see just happened to be made about 2 days after the movie Signs came out from M. Night Shyamalan. And I think there was a lot of hoaxes in regards to that. In your research with crop circles, because I know you've dabbled in it a little bit, does Canada have a lot of crop circle action?
Well, not that I think most of the crop circles happen in the UK, do they not? I'm just going to do a quick Google search for crop circles, because, in Canada, because, we don't have a lot of farmland in Ontario. Maybe in the other parts, maybe Alberta, but not that I know of, really. But
I know there was a few, along with cattle mutilations, that were happening in the Saskatchewan-Manitoba area.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of farmlands up there too, right? So, I mean, it would be more common there because there's a lot more area to do it in, I guess. You really don't know why they, I see some stuff here in Winnipeg, I see some stuff, actually found north of Barrie. There's one here, which is only 30 minutes away from me, which is pretty interesting. It's just a bunch of circles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning about this too. Like I said before, I kind of just dabbled with what's been put on my desk. I've only scratched the surface of this paranormal and UFO phenomenon, but I've definitely been making notes along the way, and these are things I'm going to follow up with. And I have also noticed that some of you guys have followed the page and liked and subscribed to the YouTube channel. I appreciate that, and put your comments, and I'll answer all your questions when I can too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what our audience likes to do. They like to stay informed with the guests that we have on. There is really so much to this phenomena, whether it's the crop circles, whether it involves cryptids, aliens, government conspiracies and cover-ups, UFOs, people from the stars. Do you really believe that we'll actually ever get the truth to all of this, of what's going on?
Depends on who tells the truth, we'll get the truth when we see it ourselves, and it all depends on why you want it. If I get the answer, I want it for myself. I don't necessarily need to share it with the world. It's just kind of one of those, as long as I know, then I'm at peace with it, right? But if the government is behind it, there's obviously reasons why they're not telling us, and right now they have control, and there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to rebel against the government and the military. And if the public were aware that there is a higher power that actually exists and is on the planet, people may stop listening to the government. Anarchy, there's lots of risks involved. So will they tell us? Probably not, because then they'd lose control. But then you got to look at other things like look at the Vatican, for example. They used to say that aliens do not exist. And then all of a sudden they have their own telescope, and they're helping SETI. They're looking for extraterrestrials themselves. All of a sudden they start coming out saying that we're not naive to think that we were the only beautiful creatures that God had created. So at one point they were saying, we do not believe in aliens. Aliens do not exist. To we believe they do exist, and they coexist with us as well. So even the Vatican is changing their story, and I think that we are coming to the brink that there's just so much activity happening that no matter how much the government tries to keep it under wraps, it's gonna expose itself. So it's at the point where the Vatican is covering their tracks, because if aliens were exposed to come out, then that would obviously, the church would lose its power. We're not believing in their God, we're believing in something else. And I think it would create panic and anarchy, and it would just...
Well, I firmly believe that there's only two people on this planet who can come out with any type of disclosure. Number one would be the President of the United States, or number two, the Pope. I think those are the only two, because whether or not you're Catholic, and there's 1.3 billion Catholics in this world, and there's a lot of people who still follow what the Vatican does, even if maybe they've given up their religion or what have you, they still have respect for the place of the Pope. Yeah. I think if the Pope came out and said, ladies and gentlemen, God has given us a sign, there is life outside of planet Earth, here they are, I think the world would be able to accept that, because the Pope is one of peace. He is one of someone who is close to God. And if they came out and disclosed it, I don't think there would be the mass hysteria. I think the problem with the President of the United States, whoever that will be at the end of 2016, going into 2017, is we really don't know what the U.S. is hiding. We don't know what Britain is hiding or Russia is hiding, but mainly the U.S. And if all of a sudden a president comes out and says, yes, extraterrestrials are real, they are here, well, then it opens up the whole gamut from Roswell on forward. And that's a dangerous concept.
Well, it is a dangerous concept, because not only are you going to get the history of UFOs existing, you're also exploiting to the enemy our technology. Because if you look at Roswell, even before Roswell, Germany had reverse engineered a UFO before Roswell had happened. And like, we were at war, they had access to advanced technology, and they kept it from each other. And then even after the war, Operation Paperclip, where they brought the German scientists over in exchange for citizenship to help them with their projects. The projects continued, and majority of that, the theories around it, is extraterrestrial technology. And if one nation has it, they definitely don't want to expose it to the public. They want, they don't want their neighboring nations to find out about it, and vice versa. Maybe Russia has reverse engineered stuff too. Maybe China has done it. Who knows? But they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna trade secrets with each other, because they still want to have, one foot in the fire kind of type deal. They want to be ready to take over the world, which is kind of sad when you think about it. We're all supposed to be working together and living together, united as one. But when it all comes down to it, at the end of the day, each one of these countries, in my personal opinion, they're trying to hold it over everyone's heads. They want to be number one. They want to be the supreme, and I don't know.
Well, that brings up an interesting concept in what you just said. Do you think there are too many people investigating? Because there are so many theories out there, and by theories, when it comes to Bigfoot or alien abduction. We talked earlier about how Canadian people seem to be having positive experiences, where U.S. people seem to be having negative experiences. And there's all these different theories of what is going on and how many species have gone here that nobody can agree to it. it's almost the same way we argue about religion and the 5,000 gods that are on this planet that people preach and pray to. So when you look at it, how do you put it all together to try and come under one entity to gather the information for all the same cause?
I don't think you ever could, because even if you put it in black and white, you're going to have somebody's going to rebel against it. If you were to say that there is an extraterrestrial race that is responsible for our existence, here he is, we've survived so long without it, why turn to it now, kind of type deal. Like, you're always like, I don't know, I really don't know, like, really. The conspiracy comes from all these unanswered questions, and as a race, we are very, inquisitive. We have questions. We want answers, and because we're not getting the answers, we're looking. But then the propaganda there is, maybe this stuff is a false flag. Maybe we're being directed purposely with this information to distract us from other things that are happening. We look into false flag operations, when something big blows up, this situation that's happening with Fort McMurray. Yes, it's very unfortunate and it's sad. And, but while everyone is focusing on this 100%, it also brings to mind what else is happening in the world that we're not paying any attention to right now. Not saying this event had happened deliberately, but there are situations like this that, the majority of the people will spend 100% of their time involved in it, and they'll just forget their surroundings while something else will sneak by. So what if, using that theory, what if these grays and these, these alien mutilations are just a distraction from what they really are? Maybe they aren't fancy. Maybe they're talking themselves up. Maybe they don't even exist. Maybe they left and they haven't returned. There's just so many different ways you can look at it. What it all comes down to is what you believe and how much faith you have in it.
I have a question from Eric in this SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook. What is your opinion of shadow beings?
From what I understand, I think they're tall, right? Tall, skinny, red eyes, red or yellow eyes. I think red eyes signifies evil, and yellow I think is good. I really don't know. From what I've heard on the paranormal side of things, they're kind of like guardian angels or demons. Depending on, the presence that you feel when they're around. From the extraterrestrial point of view, they could be watchers as well. From what I learned and what I understand, they could be interdimensional beings. They are some sort of watchers. So what I've read so far is that they don't actually do anything. They're scary to look at. Definitely, if you open your eyes and you wake up and you see some tall-figured, man with red eyes standing at the end of your bed when you're half asleep, yeah, it's going to scare the hell out of you. But I've never really heard of these shadow people actually harming people. Eddie, one of my investigators here, he is experiencing some sort of shadow figure in his home, and we're trying to figure it out. But we don't think that shadow figure is actually harming it. We actually think that it may be protecting against another entity that's inside the house. The stuff that we can't see. So, yeah, I hope that answers. I don't know if that answers.
We'll go to a question from Claudia here. Ryan, have you ever been investigated by any government agencies since you have started doing UFO investigations?
No, I have not, but I've always said to myself, until if I haven't been investigated by the government, then I'm on the wrong track. So when the day they come and knock on my door and say, hey, cut it out, then I know that I'm onto something, kind of type deal. Is what I was always believed in. Or, maybe I am on the right track and they don't actually do that. That could be a scare tactic as well. But, No, I haven't, and I encourage them, if they're listening into this conversation, to, shut me down. But, I mean, all I have right now is just information. I've yet to collect anything to go public about, but if I had anything, I definitely would wave it around and see what happens.
Do you watch out for that? For any weird signs or things that have happened? And when you look back at investigations, do you look and see if there was any patterns of maybe different people there, or people being followed, or something along those lines?
Well, that's where the private investigating comes in too, right? Like, I mean, I'm pretty private individual myself. Like, I mean, for every person I help, I make like 10 enemies here. So, like, it's a cutthroat business. But I mean, I'm always looking over my shoulder as it is for normal stuff. And I haven't really encountered any investigations where people are afraid of their lives. That, no one's ever come and told them, hey, hush, hush. That's usually an American thing, from what I heard. It's I don't know. Maybe we're just too nice, or they won't believe us because we're Canadian. No.
Well, people do have that happen. In regards to following, I know James Borg, who will be on Monday night, the gentleman I told you to meet up with.
Yeah.
He's been followed. He's had his house watched, phone tapped, everything along those lines. And is that something? I know you're welcoming it, but have you heard other UFO or ET investigators having issues with government parties following them or being a part of their investigation, or saying, hey, maybe that's something you don't want to talk about?
Not that I know of. No one's come forward to me with that information, and I think that would be definitely a big talk if it did. That'd be interesting. And then it comes back to what we were talking to earlier, like, what are we on to? If anything, for me, that would just entice me to look into it even further, like...
Mm-hmm. If that happened, though, would you back out? Because my wife and I actually had this same conversation.
Well, it depends on the threat. Like, I mean, it hasn't happened to me, right? Like, I mean, depends. I'd follow up with it, name, show me ID. Like, I'm paranoid as it is as an investigator when people come knocking on my door, I ask for ID and, all this other stuff, state your business. And if you don't belong here, you're trespassing. So, I use the law to my advantage. But if it's the law that's coming to, above me, I don't really know. Like, I mean, I wouldn't back down. But, I mean, if what happens in the TV, in the media and stuff is true, like my car starts beeping and it's about to blow up or something stupid, maybe it might get to the point where I might have to back down or cover my tracks. But at this time, I'm not worried about it because I don't think they bother wasting their time. I think it's a distraction.
But have you talked to other investigators that you've met in your time going into this field who've been followed or been talked to?
No.
Well, that's good to know. That's a positive.
That's good to know. That is a positive, yeah.
I do have to know, though, being a private investigator, do you drive a Ferrari and live with Higgins?
No. I can't even grow any facial hair at all. So
I had to get that in there. You don't understand.
No Magnet PI there. No, definitely not. I do have an Impala, though.
Oh, very nice. A nice quality General Motors product.
Yes.
Built in Canada. Mm-hmm. Just so you know.
Yep.
But when we talk about the investigative part and we talk about the possibility that people are being contacted by the government, do you think there's a lot of fear-mongering in regards to the government officials coming up and shutting people up, or do you think it's an actual epidemic that some people are truly having?
It could be both, really. Like, I mean, it is scary. Like, I mean, if the average, individual who is afraid of confrontation just wants to, like, share a story of something they saw, and all of a sudden government and men dressed up in black show up at their door with no ID and, and threaten to harm them if they continue talking, like, I mean, like, yeah, it's scary as hell. And, I mean, I don't know. The whole phenomenon, to me, it just sends a flag, you know, like what exactly is going on here that's so important that you have to fund some sort of a, you know, MJ-12 or whatever operation to come knock on my door, tell me to be quiet, you know? Like, it just seems like a waste of time unless we're on to something. Or it might be a ploy to have this person continue to tell this story, you know? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole phenomenon is kind of bizarre to me.
It's really a strong learning curve. That's the one thing that I have noticed in the 15, 16 months I've been doing this show when I started it in November of 2014. And it seems to me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that every time you open a door to see what's going on, opening that door leads to another 10 doors. And then when you finally check into each and every one of those individual doors, there's another 10 doors behind each of those 10 doors. It really is the ultimate puzzle.
Yeah. And then you're so far down the rabbit hole that, you know, you're left with what's right in front of you, and then you can't go back. And, you know, it is what it is, and this is what you're left with, kind of type deal.
Ryan, I'm going to get you to hold on one final time here as we're going to go to our final break of the night. We are talking with Ryan Stacey. He is a member of MUFON Canada, one of their investigators out of the province of Ontario. He's also a private investigator with BlacklightISS.com. If you want to check them out. He also has a YouTube channel. Just type in Ryan Stacey or Blacklight ISS, I believe. And
ISS.
Perfect. Thank you for confirming that.
Uncharted. Blacklight Uncharted is the name of the paranormal group.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you for saving me there. Appreciate that. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll talk to you on the other side of the break.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The last Monday of the month on Spaced Out Radio is a night of psychic vision, mediumship, UFO and ET contact, Bigfoot stories, animal communication, and so much more with me, Elizabeth Anglin. I'd love it if you would join host Dave Scott and I on the myriad of topics we delve into. Every month, we share new views that may help you understand your own experiences. So tune on in at spacedoutradio.com and stamp your cosmic passport.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. We're rounded third. We're heading for home on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. We thank the legendary guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL for allowing us to use his music here on Spaced Out Radio. You can find all the Bumblefoot information on our website, spacedoutradio.com. Tomorrow night on the show, we're talking Ouija boards. Robert Murch will join us. He has the largest collection of Ouija boards in the world. He has over 500 boards. It's kind of incredible, and he uses each and every one of them. We'll talk spirits and Ouija tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. I do want to remind you about the forest fires that are going on in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. It's all over the news. I'm sure it's in the U.S. as well. If not, just Google it. There's 60,000 people who have been evacuated from the city. It is surrounded by fire. If you get an opportunity to donate a nickel, a dime, a quarter, anything to the Red Cross of Canada, Canadian Red Cross, do so. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we hide our archives, is Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, we introduce Ryan Stacey. He's an investigator with MUFON Canada. He also is a private investigator for a company, Blacklight ISS.com is their website. And Ryan, thank you so much for being with us. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
I know you're getting tired here, man, but we're going to push through.
We're on the final stretch.
Hey, man, down the stretch we come. This is our Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, witching hour soon here.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll get some paranormal stuff before I go to bed. How's that? Huh?
Get that K2 meter ready. We're going to try and light it up here in the next half hour before the dead time or whatever they call it.
Yeah, I think so. Someone calls it dead time, yeah.
Michael in the SOR Space Travelers chat room has a question in regards to when we were talking about orange-colored orbs earlier. What do you think about them when they're moving slow, they're orange, and they just seem to be floating there and nothing is attached to them?
It's definitely bizarre. Like when I hear milky orange, I'm just thinking energy. Definitely some sort of energy. We don't know if it's a light, like we see amber lights in vehicles and stuff. But I mean, most of the descriptions is just pure light, a circular object in light. Like it's not a shape, it's not solid. And if it's not a solid shape and it's just some orange ball of light, which is what it's described as, and it's moving very, very slowly. Like it just seems abnormal. It's strange. It's something that we don't, see in our conventional aircraft. We don't see with helicopters. It's just bizarre, but it's common. And I don't know. Very strange.
Is there anything in the paranormal that has made you kind of just scratch your head and say, "Wow, that was odd"?
Yeah, I guess. There's an instant in the past. Me and a friend were at an abandoned school. One of my old high schools there, and we decided just to go inside and have a look. We just it was all run down, and we just want to type of just kind of curious about what was going on. And there was one point where we were at this boiler room. It was like straight out of like Nightmare of Elm Street. It was pretty creepy. There was one window open with the light casting in, and we had this kerosene oil lamp or whatever with us. It was pretty dark and scary. Then all of a sudden, I looked down the hallway and I saw something. And before I could think about what I had seen, my buddy that was with me started running. And because he started running, it spooked me, and then I continued to run in his foot because I knew what I saw, and I didn't want to be left alone with it because it just kind of spooked me out. And this guy here is 500 pounds, and like he was a big boy. And I, at the time, was like 100, 120, soaking wet, a lot smaller. So, physically, I should have been able to outrun this guy, but this guy was so scared of what he had seen that I could not catch up to him. So we're running through the school trying to get out of fear. And what I had seen prior to him running was what looked like a female dressed in a spotted gown of some sort. I have no idea if it was a hospital gown or whatever. Now, there was rumors of bums kind of hanging out in the school before, so I mean, that could be a possibility. But the weird thing is I seen this girl, and I didn't say what I had seen. I had seen it, and the guy just started running, and then spooked me, and then we continued to run out. And then when we got outside, he's huffing and puffing, and he's just like, "Did you see her?" And when he said that, like, it gave me goosebumps because I didn't tell him what I had seen. And then we told the police, and the police did an investigation, and they didn't find anyone in there. So we don't know to this day if we saw an apparition, that's what they call it, or if we actually saw somebody and it scared the hell out of us. But that's definitely a weird thing.
Claudia has a question for you in the SOR Space Travelers chat room on Facebook. What would you do, Ryan, if all of a sudden in your house an extraterrestrial appeared?
Which kind?
Well, let's say a gray.
It depends on what it's doing, really. I don't know. I'd be kind of like shocked. I'd be like, okay, what's up? What's going on? Like, am I seeing things? I don't think it would panic. I probably would just stare at it, try to figure out what's going on, Like, does it see me? Try not to move, hide in plain sight. But, I don't know. I wouldn't freak out or anything like that. I think I'd be okay with it because the Greys, they appear to be friendly from what I've read and what I've seen. They don't look like they'd be scary at all. And from what I understand, there's a theory out there that the Greys are actually the fully evolved human that have time traveled back in time to fix mistakes. Mm-hmm. So if I saw a Grey, I probably would be like, okay, I did something wrong. Sit me down, tell me what I did.
Well, I can tell you this. When I saw my first extraterrestrial, which was in April of 2014, came 5 days after I had a craft land about 150 yards away from me, I had the same attitude. And when I saw it, and I walked into this forest with a friend of mine who is an ET contactee named Samantha Mowat. She'll be on the show next Tuesday, the 10th. I can honestly say that I must have repeated the words WTF about 10, 12 times because I don't think anybody is really ready to actually see them until it happens. We can all talk a good game, and I used to talk just like you, man. I'd be okay with it. I'm ready for it. I believe in them. I want this to happen, and then it happens.
Yeah, that's kind of like where, I'm not oblivious to that possibility, too. I kind of think I have to wait and see it to happen, It's kind of, you never know, right? When crap hits the fan, you react. And I mean,
yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I hope for my sake that I don't freeze and that I'm able to get myself to a defensive position in case they're here to harm me, but it's one of those, like, I know for a fact that I'll hesitate, because I'm going to, first of all, question, like, am I actually seeing what I'm actually seeing? And I'm hoping that response time isn't, too long of a time for something to happen, right?
Well, the good part about it is, us being in Canada here, I don't think that there's too many bad ones running around. So I think we're a little bit safe on that end.
Well, just like anything, I don't think there's one bad race. The Greys can have the potential of being bad and good, It all depends on who we get and their purpose and their mission and... God was good in the in the New Testament, but he was a bad guy in the Old Testament. They always preach about his good stuff, but they never talk about the bad stuff.
That is very true.
Right? So he's capable of being bad as well as good.
What about cases of children? Have you ever dealt with anything involving children yet?
I've had a few incidents in the paranormal side with stuff moving around. So we were able to link it to the theory of what's it called? Psychokinetic? No. What's the thing Carrie's got? Psychokinesis?
Psychokinesis, yeah.
That's it, yeah. So, we did some research, and the theory with Carrie was actually based on, Wiccan and lore, around the menstrual periods and the puberty or whatever. They seem to be more in touch with this interdimensional, and with the emotions. When the emotions get the best of them, they're able to actually move objects. So there's been a couple incidents where there's one incident where this family had stuff moving around in their house and they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't understand why. They thought their place was haunted, and then later on through investigations we discovered that their youngest daughter, who happened to be present every time that the stuff happened to move, was going through puberty, and she was receiving her first menstrual cycle. And after doing some research, we learned that it's common for that kind of behavior to happen around young kids. And she was actually very emotional and very upset because she was only there once in a while because her parents were going through a divorce. So based on that theory, all the things were in check. She was in an emotional state. Her body was experiencing new things out of her body, and coupled with intense emotion and stuff levitating and moving.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird. But
my daughter, who is now 17, she has seen spirits since she was about 1.5 years old. And I remember when she turned about 3 and was starting to communicate more, we would always put her to bed. And one of the things we did before we put her to bed was we would always do night cleanup of her room, from clean up her toys and everything like that, make her bed and get everything comfortable.
Ouch.
And when we woke up in the morning, her room would be destroyed again.
And she didn't do it.
And she'd be like, "Daddy, I didn't do it. Daddy, I didn't do it." And it wasn't until I saw the little girl ghost in my house that I realized that it wasn't her. Very interesting.
That's very interesting. And then while we're on the topic of that, in order for that to happen, a traumatic amount of energy needs to exist. There is science out there that proves that, with enough energy, you can move objects, and for a ghost or an interdimensional being to cross over to the other realm to actually physically move this stuff, to understand that and to accept that, that's on a scientific level, that's a lot of power, a lot of energy. And with my interdimensional theory, is this someone actually doing it deliberately, or are they on the other side trying to communicate with us, and then they just created so much energy that it just exploded the room? It just dispersed the energy outwards, and the objects just happened to move and fly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much different ways and angles to look at it, but, it's definitely energy.
And it's weird because, like, I know even my stepdaughter, who is now 13, when she was 7, we bought a house in the town we lived in, and we were the second owners. The original owners had built the house 12 years previous, and 6-7 months before we moved in, the gentleman who built the house for his wife, their retirement home, had passed away. So my 7-year-old one night has a visitation and a conversation. And she comes up to us and she said, there was a man in my bedroom last night. And so immediately as a parent, you go, oh, crap, right? Because now you're thinking, are the windows locked? Are the doors locked? So on and so forth.
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah.
Exactly. And I said, well, was it a human? And she goes, no, it was a ghost. And I said, okay, well, can you explain it to me? And she says, well, he just stood there at the edge of my bed, and he was nice. And I said, well, did he tell you his name? And she goes, yes, his name was Grandpa, and he was 83 years old. So we got on the phone after I had this conversation. I called the realtor, who happened to be a family friend of ours, and I told him what had happened. And I said, can you check out what happened with the other guy, how old he was, what was his name? Find out about 24 hours later that Grandpa's name was actually Gordon. And he died 3 weeks before his 83rd birthday.
Wow.
That's something she's not going to make up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially at that age. And there's it's kind of conspiracies again, but with the whole third eye theory and the fluoride in the water, blah blah blah, decalcifying our brains and whatnot. It's been proven more times than not that children, the young ones, are able to see this stuff because they've yet to be brainwashed by social media or television, and contaminations with the food, because you usually try to feed your kids healthy stuff. You keep them away from the junk food that we'll eat from a daily basis, because we're old enough, we got the immune system, we got the immunity, we can fight it off. But what we're actually doing is blocking this information from coming through. And they say that these children who aren't exposed to all this stuff can see what we can't see. So at one point, in theory, we all could have seen this stuff. We just been blocked. I want to
stick with kids for a few more minutes here, because I think it's important. Have you had to deal with childhood abductions with aliens yet?
Not yet. Like I said earlier when I was talking about that alien case that I was helping another investigator with, it led into paranormal. So there was history there with his younger son, the witness's younger son, who's drawing pictures of shadow figures. They're not sure if he's been abducted, but they feel as if like he has had dreams where he says he had left the bedroom and he has gone up into heaven, and he described seeing, angels and stuff like that in his sleep. So that's with a child who's 8 or 9 years old, explaining his dreams about him leaving his bedroom and then being brought back into the bedroom by the white light. We don't know if this kid's making this up, but, that's quite the imagination.
Or is it imagination? Because I think the big thing is, if we close the child's true thought, we start creating that vivid imagination, and that really leads to kids closing themselves off from what they should be learning spiritually.
Right, and at that age, they don't know any better. So you would assume they're speaking the truth, and they're telling you what they see, but they don't know that what they're experiencing is wrong because they haven't been, manipulated or brainwashed through the educational system and all that other junk. Like they haven't been sculpted. You know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean, and what we try and do in our household is we try and have an open mind with the experiences that our children have, because in the end, if we as parents are not going to believe them or slough off their nightmares or their stories, then I don't think we're doing a very good job of actually making it happen in the progression of their own personal learning and their own spiritual enlightenment. At least that's the way I look at it. Other people will look at it differently. I know my sister looks at it differently.
Yeah. Well, you want them to confide in you too, right? When they tell you that story, if you want to believe them so they can continue telling you those things. Because it could be a mental illness at an early age as well. So, I mean, the last thing you want to do is shelter them or shun them so they stop communicating with you. Mm-hmm. So it's bizarre. It's definitely, but I mean, again, as a non-believer to some of this stuff, of the facts, the facts are real and it's common. When it happens, it's not just textbook. It's not just one scenario. It happens to many, many people in many different environments, different races, different cultures, different religions, but it still happens.
What do you like better, being a PI or being a MUFON/paranormal investigator?
I like being the MUFON investigator for sure. Again, it's non-profit. It doesn't pay the bills, but everything I learned from being a PI, it adapts to it. It obviously bridges. I investigate my paranormal and the alien sightings the same way as I investigate missing people or surveillance. I follow every lead, turn over every leaf, no branch unturned kind of type deal. Mm-hmm. So it all works together, one-stop shop. But if at the end of the day, if I wasn't controlled by money like everyone else is, I'd be doing this full time, 100%.
I know that feeling all too well with this show, my friend.
Yeah.
All I need to do is win the lottery, and we are off and running.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Maybe Robert Murch tomorrow night with the Ouija board can give me that answer. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then when we do shows like this, too, I don't know how many people are listening. I don't know how many people are asking questions. In my own theory, I got 1 like on Facebook, actually I got 4 tonight. So thank you for all that, and to me, it's my motto going into it, as long as I got 1, as one person likes it, it's a win for me kind of type deal. And our audience is growing, 120, I think we got 130 likes on my Facebook page, but that's more of my investigating and, security page. Our Twitter page, www.twitter.com/blacklightUCD. We have almost 2,000 followers. So if you want to follow us, is on there. We got 116 subscribers to YouTube, so we post videos on there too. We got so all we need is 1. Hoping out of all these people, there's 1 person in there that's watching us continuously and likes what we're doing, and then eventually calls us up and says, "Hey, I want to take the interest and move this forward," And we on our YouTube channel, you'll see, a bunch of playlists. I have my MUFON investigations on there. We also have vlogs on there where the plan is to do little episodes like this on topics and hoping to get the audience to comment, and we'll respond back with the answers and trying to interact with it. We also have our interviews. There's going to be we have a little clip of the last interview we did with James. I just uploaded that today, actually.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a little expert out of this one at some point and post it on there, and I'll link you guys in there as well, and then So it's pretty much just exposure and continuing the journey. We're always going to have people follow us. We're always going to give information, and all we need is one. And when we find that one person that's willing to carry us on, then we'll definitely keep doing this for the rest of our lives.
I'm hoping for the same thing. And that's all we can do is, try and bring some revelation and some truth to what is going on out in the world, because there's some weird things happening out there. We just have to be able to try and find them. That is for sure.
Mm-hmm. And strength in numbers. As the more people that see it, the better the case.
Well, I agree. I would love to take this show 24 hours. I don't know where I would sleep. I barely sleep as it is right now in regards to everything. But on the flip side, you know what? It's fun. It's really what you have to have a passion for. You really have to have a lot of time and a lot of dedication, but most of all, a lot of love and passion in order to do what we need to do.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
My friend, we're almost winding up time here. I would love it if once again you could give a quick rundown of how people can get a hold of you through MUFON or through Blacklight.
You can go to the Twitter page, www.twitter.com/blacklightUCD. You can follow us there. You can also check out our YouTube page, www.youtube.com/blacklightiss. And then our website is www.blacklightiss.com. And you can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/blacklightiss. And basically, you just got to remember Blacklight. And Blacklight Uncharted is the paranormal. And then I'm encouraging everybody who has witnessed a UFO sighting to report it to MUFON. And you just go to www.mufon.com. And you'll see the link that says report. Just report it, ask your questionnaires. And if you're in Ontario, then maybe you'll be one of the lucky people that I get their case. And if you were listening in onto the show, let me know, and then I'll definitely give you a shout out. And I handle the Twitter, so if you want to talk more, you can message me directly or email me. I think the email's on my website, yes.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Ryan, I really appreciate you taking time to come on Spaced Out Radio tonight. All the best to you in your future investigations. We'll do this again.
Yes, we will. Thank you very much.
Take care. That's Ryan Stacey from MUFON, Canada. We got Bumblefoot rocking out now. It's always a lot of fun here on SOR. Ryan's website, once again, blacklightiss.com, if you want to check it out. Man, he wears a lot of hats. Paranormal investigator, MUFON investigator, private investigator. He just loves the title investigator, but he's doing what he loves. That's the main thing. That's what we all need to try and do. Tomorrow night on the show, we are stepping into the paranormal, namely the Ouija board. Not Ouija, according to Robert Murch, Ouija. Robert Murch tomorrow night. He is the owner of the largest collection of Ouija boards in the world. He has over 500 boards. He might be over 1,000. I don't know. He said he was going to be paring down soon. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like. Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Find our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where we hide our archives. And just for you, Gloria, because I know you love the Bumblefoot, same as you, Gail, we are feeling tinglated as we are wrapping up another show here that went very well on the mighty SOR, Spaced Out Radio. Tell your friends, tell your loved ones, bring them by. In the SOR Space Travelers chat room, Spaced Out Radio's chat room on Spreaker, Paranormal Forum, or listening in on the SHR Media Network. Just find us. And we would like to thank also Euphoria Chronicles for joining the team as well. Thank you, James Borg, and your crew. Love you guys. We'll talk to you in exactly 21 hours from right now. It's late. Go to bed. We're rocking out to Bumblefoot on the way out. Have a good one. Good night.
Watching